On my wife's birthday, she invited everyone except me. I didn't find out from her directly. I found out the way humiliations usually arrive these days through a screen. A coworker of hers posted a photo on social media, balloons, drinks, smiling faces, and right in the center, my wife Claire, glowing with happiness. The caption read, "Best birthday night ever." I recognized nearly everyone in the photo, friends we both knew, colleagues of hers, even her cousins, people we'd shared dinners with in our own home. But I wasn't there. At first, I just stared at the picture, trying to make sense of it. I assumed it was a mistake. Maybe a surprise she was planning for me later, maybe some kind of misunderstanding. After 13 years together, I still believed in giving her the benefit of the doubt. I always had. We met when we were young, before life hardened us. Back when ambition felt romantic and struggle felt temporary. I was already working as a paramedic then, long shifts, missed holidays. Adrenaline and exhaustion woven into my daily routine. She used to say she admired me for it. She told me I was brave. She said she felt safe knowing I was the kind of man who ran toward emergencies while others ran away. But somewhere along the way, that admiration turned into something else. By the time this birthday arrived, she had changed. She had a new job, a new social circle. People who wore expensive clothes talked loudly about their promotions and bonuses, and measured a person's worth by their title. I was still a paramedic, same job, same long hours, same modest paycheck. I never felt ashamed of it, not once. Until she started making me feel like I should. That evening, I came home a little early with a small cake from the bakery she loved. I planned to surprise her, even though she hadn't mentioned any plans for her birthday. The apartment was completely empty, silent. Her phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. I didn't open it, but I didn't need to. The social media photos were more than enough. When she came home later that night, smelling of perfume and alcohol, she didn't look surprised to see me. She looked annoyed. "You're home?" she asked, as if my presence was an inconvenience. "It's your birthday," I said calmly. "I thought we'd spend it together." She let out a sigh like I'd just said something incredibly embarrassing. "I had plans." "With everyone except your husband?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. She rolled her eyes and dropped her purse on the counter. "I didn't think you'd want to come." That single sentence hurt more than I expected, more than I wanted to admit. "Why wouldn't I?" I asked. She hesitated for a moment, then just shrugged. "It was a professional crowd. You wouldn't fit in." I just stared at her, waiting for her to realize what she'd just said. For some kind of recognition to cross her face, it never did. "Fit in how?" I asked quietly. She crossed her arms, defensive. "Look, I didn't mean it like that, but you're just a paramedic. They're executives, managers, consultants. I didn't want things to be awkward. Just a paramedic." The words echoed in my head, louder than any siren I'd ever heard. I thought about the nights I came home with blood on my uniform, too tired to even speak. The holidays I missed because I was on shift. The lives I'd held together long enough to get them to a hospital. The parents I had to comfort when there was nothing more anyone could do. And this woman, my wife, reduced all of that to just, I had to know, "Are you embarrassed by me?" She didn't answer right away, and that silence, that pause, was everything. It was the confirmation I never wanted. "I work hard," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "I save lives." "I know," she replied impatiently, as if that was an irrelevant detail. "But that's not the point." "What is the point then?" I asked, my frustration finally starting to build. She exhaled sharply. "I wanted one night where I didn't have to explain you. That was the moment. The moment something inside me cracked. It wasn't a loud, dramatic shatter. It was a clean break. Like a bone snapping under a pressure it had carried for far too long." I nodded slowly, processing the finality of her words. "So you excluded me on your birthday? Because you're ashamed of who I am?" She tried to backtrack then. "That's not what I said." "It's exactly what you said," I replied. She then accused me of being too sensitive, of making her birthday all about me, of ruining her good mood. She even had the nerve to say that I should be proud she had such an active and important social life. I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I simply went into the bedroom and sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the floor. For the first time in years, I allowed myself to feel something I had been actively ignoring. I was completely alone in my own marriage. Over the next few weeks, things became painfully clear. She went out more. She talked to me less. She treated me like I was just background noise in her new, exciting life. When I came home exhausted from a difficult shift, she barely looked up from her phone. I realized the birthday party wasn't the betrayal. It was the confession, a confession of how she truly saw me. One night, after a particularly brutal shift where we lost a child, I came home emotionally wrecked. I needed to talk to someone. I tried to talk to her. She interrupted me mid-sentence. "Can you not bring that energy home?" she said, her tone cold. "I had a great day." That was it? That was the end? I didn't shout? I didn't cry? I just told her I wanted some space. She laughed, assuming I didn't mean it, assuming I'd just get over it like I always did. But this time was different. I packed a bag anyway. When I moved out, she didn't stop me. She didn't apologize. She didn't even ask where I was going. In her mind, I'd cool off and come back because that was my role. I was the one who always came back. The divorce took time, but it wasn't messy. She was far too busy maintaining her image to fight over the details. I focused on rebuilding myself. I started therapy. I reconnected with old friends. I embraced the silence and began to heal. Months later, I ran into one of her friends at a coffee shop. The woman looked incredibly uncomfortable when she saw me. She walked over to my table. "I heard what Claire said about you," she admitted quietly. "About why you weren't at the party?"